tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests are Chef Danille Reed and artist Claudia Nizzi. Executive Chef Danille Reed was born and raised in California. She graduated from the California Culinary Academy in San Francisco in 1987. How did a Valley girl like you decide to become a chef, Danielle?
Well, I was never a Valley girl, for real, Joe. Thank you. Actually, I've always loved to cook since as long as I can remember. And then I heard about this school, and I just knew that that was what I wanted to do. I was real lucky to know. It was easy.
But being a chef is really hard work. And so when you went to school, you must have found that it was different than cooking in the kitchen for a big family.
Definitely. But I'm glad I was pretty young when I went to school, and it's really a physical job, so I just loved it, you know. And plus, I was sort of a tomboy, so I could prove the boys wrong, and that was a good attitude to have.
When you talk about physical, what are the physical attributes?
Of working in a kitchen?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. You have to lift a lot of heavy stuff. A case of potatoes weighs 50 pounds.
You're lifting that kind of stuff?
Not as much anymore.
But when you first started?
Oh, sure. And you know, pots of soup and, you know, big pieces of meat or big fish. You're handling a lot of things and moving things.
You're now an executive chef, but before we get into, let's go through the process in the kitchen. Okay. Where did you start, and what does each person do to get to where you are now?
Well, to get to the level of executive chef, I think you need a good amount of experience, probably 5 to 10 years to know every aspect of the kitchen. But most people, you know, some start off going to school and then getting a job in the kitchen. And then some people just start off in the kitchen by just needing a job, and they fall in love with it.
But you can be a chef without going to school?
Yes, you can.
Are they respected in the same vein?
A diploma helps, but then again, not going to school, you're a lot less limited in your creativity, and that can sometimes hinder people. But there's some great chefs that have no education as far as schooling goes. They're just cooking from the heart and experimenting.
Before you went to the Culinary Academy, did you have to go to college? Do you need a college degree before that?
No, not at all.
No, so you're ahead of the college game a little bit, a few years.
Yeah. You know,
so
little experience before school is good, though.
When you start in the kitchen, tell us where you start.
Most likely a prep position or even dishwashing.
Which means prep position?
Prep is learning your knife skills and making stocks. You're learning how to slice julienne, dicing different sizes. Sometimes, you know, a little more advanced, you're butchering meat and fish. You're mostly cutting vegetables and making stocks and then learning all of that kind of stuff.
And then you go up to where?
Then you start cooking with recipes, in learning how to cook with recipes and organizing your time, and you're learning how to keep your station clean, working fast, clean, efficient. And then you move up to the pantry position, which is salads and cold appetizers, and then you might go to hot appetizers, and then saute, grill, and then to a sous chef.
What if you have a little tiny kitchen? How do you have all these stations in a kitchen?
Well, you don't always have all of those stations. You have them divided up in some way, unless you're really small. But it might be divided up into the cold side and the hot side.
I see.
And most kitchens are pretty small. I'm pretty lucky. I have a really huge kitchen.
Do you?
Very appreciative of that.
So you went through all of these levels to get to being an executive chef.
Yes.
And what does an executive chef do? An
executive chef has to manage people. That's
do you get to cook?
Yes. You have to manage a whole operation, and on top of it, be creative. So it's a real balance of management and creativity.
Well, did you think about being a manager when you went into cooking?
not at all.
Is it kind of a drawback in your mind, or is it?
For different people, it's different. I'm definitely more lean towards the cooking and the creative side. The paperwork, I don't like to do it.
Can you get someone else to do that for you?
Yeah, it's just a lot of work, but it all gets done. But I definitely would rather just cook.
When you started your ascent, you started with Patrick Clark, I guess. Was that the first big chef you started with, or did you start with someone before that?
He wasn't the first chef that I worked with. I had done some traveling before that, and I worked in a hotel in San Francisco for 2 years. So that gave me a pretty good balance. When I came back from Europe the first time, I wanted to work in an Italian restaurant.
Oh, I see. Well, what were you doing in, let's go back to Italy before we get to the Italian restaurant. What were you doing in Europe?
Well, my family and we had a house in Rome for about 4 months when I was a young kid. So that shaped a lot of my cooking, love of cooking and food. So, and I had a varied experience already, so I thought, well, I know Italian food, I love it, so I need to find an Italian restaurant to work in. And Bice was sort of the hot spot at the time.
Bice, well, Bice in Beverly Hills is where you started, but there was one in New York. There was the very wonderful one in Milan.
Yes, yeah, that was the original one.
Which was always so great, and it was owned by an individual family.
Right.
And you started working there with the chef, Patrick Clark, who was American.
Right.
So how did that work?
Well, they had brought Patrick Clark to Beverly Hills when their first chef didn't work out, and he was one of the hottest chefs in New York at the time, so they thought they should bring him out there. So he wasn't actually Italian. I wouldn't at all.
No.
His food was real progressive American. So they actually had an Italian chef doing the pastas, and then Patrick. So it was almost two chefs in the same restaurant.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you did get a real Italian flair, but a clean new approach.
Right, but then I just fell in love with Patrick's food and Patrick as a person, and he took me with him when he left.
He did. I'm glad he didn't take you all the way, because he passed away at a very young age, didn't he?
He
but
did.
you were really blessed to have him as a mentor, I would say.
Absolutely.
Because you got to work with the top chefs. He would send you, did he send you to Hawaii?
Sure.
Tell us about that.
He sent me to work with Roy Yamaguchi for 3 months, 1 year, and that was a really great experience.
What did you learn from that, from Yamaguchi, who now has restaurants all over the United States?
Right. Roy's kitchen was a fusion of French and Asian food, so it was completely different style than Patrick's. And actually, Roy, what I learned from Roy was a really good business sense. Nothing got thrown away, and there was all sorts of tricks about using not the best cut of meat, but making a great appetizer out of something. So really good business sense, and really, that was a great experience too.
Then you came back and you worked at Tavern on the Green. Oh, you went to France. Did you go to France?
Yes, then somewhere along in there I went to France and did an stage at a few different restaurants. I was there for almost a year.
Oh, how did that experience compare to Rome?
Completely different. France was more intellectual food, and Rome is more from the heart. Not too fancy, but just delicious.
One of the other places you were at Tavern on the Green, which is pretty American.
Yeah.
And what position did you have there?
Executive sous chef with Patrick.
Same thing. And then you went on to another restaurant called Aquamarine.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that was, I left Tavern after 2 years. That was about as much as I could handle, because it was a huge restaurant. About $32 million a year they did. I had a staff of 50.
Wow.
So I was a little bit tired.
You already started administration, though, if you had that kind of a staff. Yeah, I see. So that's on the ascent.
Definitely, I learned a lot of skills, management along the way. But I opened Aquamarine as the executive chef with somebody named Jim Gillum, and that was on the Hudson River and 26th Street in New York, in Manhattan.
And then you went to Tribeca Grill.
Aquamarine, yeah, I did jumped
Aquamarine?
around. They sort of fell in the river, as I like to say. literally and figuratively.
Yeah, we didn't even get a chance to get there and see you.
Well, it didn't last too long, but it was a pretty good experience to do that. And then I worked at Tribeca Grill with Drew Nearpoint for a while. I was there just a short time.
When you're working, say you've jumped around a lot, do the owners or the other chefs involved get upset when you leave? Or is there a good feeling that takes place? How does that work?
Well, personally, most of my jumping around has been with Patrick. So I never really left him except for to go off to do an stage or to do have a better experience, to do something different. So there was never any animosity, but there's, you get personal with the people you work with. It's a pretty intense relationship. So when someone leaves, if you leave on bad terms, you can really, it can hurt somebody.
I bet.
And chefs have a tendency to fly off the handle and make some decisions in the heat of the moment that sometimes they regret.
In the heat of the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then
I've seen things fly.
Yeah. Now you're at Ciudad in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And tell us how you got there.
Well, I decided to come back to LA, where obviously I'm from, after being gone about 10 years, and my fiance came back with me, and he's Puerto Rican. He actually used to work with Patrick in New York, so Patrick kind of got us together. He saw an ad in the paper that Susan and Mary Sue were looking for a chef, and
Tell us who Susan Feniger
and Mary Sue Milliken, the two hot tamales.
The two hot tamales, right. And they were looking for a chef?
They were looking for a chef. They had an ad in the paper, and actually Tommy sent them my resume. I didn't even pursue it, and then I started getting the phone calls, and we met, and they found out that I had my 16th birthday dinner at City Restaurant. And once they heard that, they said, "You're hired."
They loved you because they were the chefs at City Restaurant. They started City.
Yeah, yeah. So we've had a really great working relationship ever since.
Is it Mexican?
No, Ciudad is Latin food.
And what is Latin food compared to Mexican food, I guess?
Latin food comes from basically everywhere else that they speak Spanish besides Mexico, which is the Caribbean Spanish countries, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, down to Central America, South America, and Spain and Portugal.
Well, did you have any experience in that? You were an Italian chef.
No.
So how did you do it?
About 3 months of intense cooking and studying and just recipe testing.
Did you travel to any of those countries?
No.
You didn't?
No, it's all been learned in the kitchen.
And as you were learning, did you think of doing any kind of videoing what you were doing so that you could go back and look at it and improve things?
No, not really. It's a creative thing. You just go and improve, and you sometimes end up down this avenue, sometimes you go this way with a dish, and you just keep going.
You brought a couple of things that are different from, I guess, or they're the same as everything that's served all over the South Latin countries.
Yeah.
Tell us, hold it up maybe, and we can see it.
These are just some empanadas that you might find in a lot of Latin American countries. I think most cultures have a version of something like this.
Point them out to us.
Okay. Right here, we serve these at Ciudad. These would be called Argentinian empanadas, or more South American style. This is a wild mushroom and herb empanada in an achiote dough. And this is a Swiss chard and manchego cheese.
And the other ones?
And this is more typical of the Mexican style, which is it's a picadillo, which is a ground meat and potato and olives and raisin filling.
So it's like almost a sweet and sour
Yeah, you
kind
find
of
that a lot in the southern part of Mexico.
Are there empanadas that are just sweet for desserts?
Sure, sure. Good one is guava paste and manchego cheese. That's a really nice dessert.
Sounds great. Well, our time is up.
Oh.
One thing you do is for the restaurant, you shop all over the world, I guess, or all over the Latin American countries.
We do have some pretty interesting products. Yeah, we get. I get a lot of new chilies from Peru and South America, and I get my meat from Argentina.
And it just, everything comes up to your kitchen and you make it work.
Yeah.
Danielle, thank you so much for being with us. Thanks for being with us and seeing what Danielle has cooked. And don't go away because we'll be back with artist Claudia Nizzi. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with artist Claudia Nizzi, who was born in Rome, where she went to school and studied painting with Enzo Brunori after she earned a degree in architecture from the university. Her art has been exhibited mainly in Italy. Is that because you're new to the United States?
Absolutely.
How long have you been here?
It's my 9th month.
Oh, that's all?
Yes.
Only 9 months?
Yes.
Well, the main part of your biography said that there was an accent on costume, props, stage. Does that go along with your architecture background or your art background?
Yeah, I think they born like an ideal of space and like to dress the space from my architectural study. So, and then I developed this concept when I was in the Academy of Art. And during the Academy of Art, I met Lindsay Camp, a choreographer and a director. And I worked with him, and I really learned what it's meant to be in tour, doing props and doing decoration and costume.
How did you get there? How did you start? Were you going to, as an artist, were you going to do stage?
Well, it was through my love for dancer. I always go to see performance, and I love his work for many years, since I was 16. Then I have an occasion once during his show to go to see him in the backstage. And I have some other friends that know him. They introduce each other, and then I participate to his dancing workshop. And then I start to draw him in movement.
So you danced as well?
Yes.
With the group, with the ensemble?
I was in the workshop using my English to translate and showing some movement, but I didn't dance with the company. Actually, I had just during the workshop with students.
Tell us his name again.
Lindsay Camp. It's from London. Actually, it's Scottish. But it's England, and it's living in Italy from a long time. And so we develop a kind of friendship, and I moved from Rome to Todi 2 years to stay much more closer to him.
Is that where he lived?
Yes.
In Todi?
In Todi, in Umbria.
In Umbria.
Sì.
Did he create the works there?
He creates some a smaller company with Italian artists, but what he's doing, he's having the direction of the Torino Ballet. So he traveled a lot, but his base is in Todi.
So basically, your stage work is with dance. What about theater? Have you done theater as well?
Theater, it was always connected with other dancers, so I didn't do anything precisely theater, but I have, my biggest work was with David Parsons.
Oh yes, that's what I was thinking, David Parsons. And
which is a wonderful choreographer of New York, and I met him in Rome, and because was friends of Lindsay Camp, he saw my work, and then he asked me to do a big set decor for an opera theater during his Umbria Jazz performance.
And then did that bring you to America?
No, actually, we did a week of performance in Perugia, near Todi, and then in the Morlacchi Theater, and then there was the whole experience. But I'm keeping in touch with him.
But what about your painting? Were you painting in between?
Yes, actually, painting, it doesn't make so much money. So I cultivate these things for make some exhibition, but what my work is to make a living. It's more related to the theater and to the things that I can do for set decor. For now, I had stopped because I'm new here. I don't know many company, but I'm so excited that Bill T. Jones came in a year.
Yes.
And I'm going to see him, and I know him from a long time. He came in Italy so much to perform. It's a wonderful company.
I think we have a lot of opportunities in Los Angeles, and I think you'll find a lot of opportunities, especially since you're so experienced and you have a great European background in dance and
I hope.
stage.
Yes,
besides, are you from an artistic family?
Not properly. My family, it's my mom is at home, and my dad have his work. I know that he was very good in painting, and he was a wonderful drawing painter, but it was like for hobby, because his work to maintain the family couldn't be an artist.
One of the things that you did along with your stage sets was illustrations, book illustrations. Did you do books in Italy?
Yes, I had one little thing.
Let me see this one because it's so.
It's related to Lindsay Camp. It's
this is work from
Midsummer Night Dream, his first show in Italy that I saw, and I draw during the show in the darkness of the theater.
I'm going to open it and show one of the illustrations inside.
And I asked to him to wrote his script.
He wrote it?
He wrote it.
Oh, what a beautiful, this is so beautiful.
Nice collaboration. He really put his heart in this book with my drawing. He likes so much, and he kind of supports me very much.
That's fabulous. Then you went on and you wrote another book, which I have here on the set. This is How Much I Love You. You did the drawings,
yes.
And Billy Mertnett did the words.
Yes.
Tell us how this came about.
Billy Mertnett has a wonderful way to express his love for me. So I hear this wonderful sentence by the telephone, because we talk a lot by the telephone before to married. So actually he wrote, I said, why don't you write down these beautiful stories? And he did.
So you're married to Billy Mertnett.
Yes.
So this is a love story.
After the book.
Before the book or during the book?
During the book.
Well, we have the original drawing on the set, and we have it from the book.
Yes.
And do these words go with this?
Yes, this is the drawing that opened the long last story where he asked if he have tell me that he loved me, and I said no, tell me another time. And so it's the introduction drawing, and then there is all the story.
Are these words the right words? Can you read those?
Yes. Have I told you lately that I love you? Tell me one more time. All right, so.
And then?
How many notes can a nightingale sing? How many sake bottles in Japan? Count up every blossom that's ever bloomed. All the sunset since the dawn of man. How high is the highest that a Dalai Lama gets? Sorry, my English. How low is the lowest of the low? What's the total sum of everybody's debts? The wattage of the North Star glow?
Oh, let's show that. Do we have the picture of that?
This actually.
We have the North Star on the set, so that looks really fabulous. And this is how it looks on the page, which is great. So each painting tells a story, and all the illustrations are different, and they are used especially for this book. What form did you turn this into the publisher? How did you give this to the publisher?
It's a good question. I trust so much that when you do photocopy and you do a little demo, in a way, even a good painting can be shown in that little sites and can be appreciated. So we make photocopy.
Oh, did you make the book yourself?
Yes, we did a little demo, like pretty much that size.
Oh, you knew what size you wanted?
Yes, I knew. I like to design my project always. We have the collaboration of another designer, Michael Serjan, that I say thanks because he's a wonderful designer. But we integrate so much our will because we know already what we want to have and should be a little book.
So did the editor or the publisher try to change things, or did they accept it the way you gave it?
He was, I want to really appreciate so much this culture because they like the things how they are. I mean, they don't try to change everything. So he was a very good suggestion to make it better, and we really have so much to learn, so we put things in better, but he didn't take out much. I mean, he take the old things.
That's great.
Larry's Lawn, it's a wonderful.
That's
really
great, you're
help.
really lucky. Before we leave, we have 2 of your paintings on the set as well. Tell us what this one is and tell us what that one is.
This is Bill T. Jones,
Oh,
that is coming.
Bill T. Jones, the dancer, yes.
I did an exhibition here in LA once with this works, many other pieces. And I like so much his way to transform African dancing in a contemporary dancing. So it's very philosophical. I don't have so much word, but I tried to synthesize his performance in an old African style with
beautiful.
a modern.
And what kind of material is that?
This is eggs tempera.
Oh, that's very European, isn't
Yes.
it? Very Italian, French too.
Yes.
Egg tempera. And what's the other piece?
This is Danielle Reed, one of the best choreographer you have here in LA. I love him so much. And this is a moment in which he was young and making a performance with Paul Taylor, I think, company. And this is oil painting on wood.
Fabulous. Claudia, thank you so much for being with us today. We really enjoyed it, and the book is just so charming, and the paintings, the drawings, the illustrations are fabulous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching our show today. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles, 917. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.